Good evening and welcome to the Magpie Circle live Monday night show. I'm feeling good. I'm in a happy mood, happy place. Just talking with our guests earlier, a little bit mischievous tonight. So here's one of the themes we're going to discuss tonight. Is winning ugly better than trying to emulate Pep Guardiola and Manchester City in the National League? Free-flowing football, dominating possession, XG stats, all that and everything else. Is that your thing? Or a scruffy goal from a corner, a clean sheet, and 3 points at home against Maidenhead. 3 wins on the bounce at home. Joined by Charlie Slater from BBC East Midlands for the first half of the show. Charlie, welcome.
Evening. Always happy to be here.
Always happy to welcome you. And coming from Manchester, advanced scouting trip ahead of Altrincham on Saturday. Chloe Page, welcome, Chloe.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Hey, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. All this and more on your show tonight on an evening when the National League managerial merry-go-round springs into overdrive. Harry Kewell gone from Barnet, Danny Searle from Aldershot. Losing to Notts County in the National League should carry a government health warning. We've won 4. 2 of those clubs have now sacked their managers. Evening all, Mark Leach. Have a great show, everybody. Gary Wardle, evening all. Chris Jordan, evening, folks. Richard Hawksworth, evening all. Best start A since 2005. 6 is all rosy in the garden, or are there causes for concern? Chris Jordan, give our regards to Pep. Chloe, yes, of course, you're in Manchester. Rob Holland, this team is showing us they can grind out results and turn on the style. Hopefully it will stand us in good stead for the season. Okay, let's make the most of 30 minutes with Charlie Slater. Charlie, where do you stand on this debate? Grinding out results or free-flowing, expansive football? And you can't say both. I've been thinking about this. I am a long-term Notts County fan. I don't think, genuinely, we have had free-flowing, expansive football and results since Jimmy Cyril and Howard Wilkinson in the top flight of English football in 1981-82. Honestly, I don't. Warnock, Allardyce, yes, certain styles that won us games. Where are you on the debate, Charlie?
Well, first of all, you're the only one amongst us who is old enough to remember Jimmy Cyril and the like. I was going to say, and you've already taken my answer away from me. What do the younger people say? It, Chloe, you're going to have to back me up here. They say, get you a girl or get you a guy that can do both. And you know, look, I was obviously really encouraged and excited by the fact that they could score 5 at Barnet. And I feel for Harry Kewell. And I was obviously impressed by the fact that they could score 3 at will against the likes of Aldershot and Wealdstone and things like that. Obviously not so encouraged by the fact that they shipped 2 goals in both of those as well. Winning is winning. And look, they say winning ugly. I don't think Notts have won ugly yet. It's not been ugly. You know, like I still think that, you know, like let's just use Saturday as a good example against Maidenhead. But you could also use the game against Weymouth down on the south coast. You could use the game against Torquay at home, where you can say that, look, it isn't going to click every single week for 90 minutes. In fact, it's rarely going to do that, because if these players were capable of doing that, they wouldn't be at Notts County, they'd be playing higher up. But there were still moments in that game, as there were moments at Weymouth, as there were moments against Torquay, where it was far from ugly. It's great to watch. It is fast-flowing. It is free. It is exciting. It's good build-up play. I go back to that word. It's exciting. I go into every single Notts game at the moment expected to have 5 to 10 at least moments in a game where I'm going to get to the edge of my seat, or I would say get off my seat, but that's not the done thing in a press box. But if I was a fan there watching it, I'd get off my seat. When particularly Cal Roberts gets the ball, or when Kyle Wootton takes up those positions. Look, was Saturday a good performance? No. But they still won the game, and let's not have any bones about it. They could have won 3-0 very, very easily, and nobody would have been talking about this. You'd have had to have been devilish in another way. You'd have had to have been mischievous in another way, Macy. Because if Cal Roberts scores his penalty and then bangs that one in a few moments later, which I thought was an easier chance, then, Jesus, it's not ugly. It's a 3-0 win, and everything's even rosier in an already blooming garden.
As a young millennial, Chloe, where are you in this debate?
I think every football fan wants to see attractive football, especially as a neutral. That's all you want to go and see. And I think we've had quite a lot of fans from other clubs come over. I was in the ticket office in the week, and there was a fair few Forest fans making their way over the Trent. The comment was, "We've had enough over here. They would come and see what you guys are doing over here." In the same breath, I think every Notts County fan wants out of this league. It's a very difficult league to get out of. We've seen that that hit home the first season we got down here. But at the same time, I think I would rather see the attractive football. It's going to win us or get us more points than not this season doing that. And I think it's very healthy to hear Ian come on and say that, look, we'll take the 3 points, but there's more to come. With previous managers, they've just been kind of overjoyed with just the result. But it's great to see that someone's really deeply interested in the style of football that we're playing and wants to see the same thing week in, week out. Like Charlie says, it's not going to be the same every week. You're facing different opponents. You're going to be having different problems with injuries and all the rest of it. It's not going to be the same style of football every week, because that same style isn't going to win you every game. So I think everybody, again, we talk about Saturday, and I've had the same conversation with kind of my family and my friends, that you more than happily take the point, but we never really look like conceding. Everybody keeps saying how this is kind of winning ugly. Again, we talk about the chances that we had, and it was an easy 3-0. And again, to reiterate, none of us would be saying, "Oh, do you just take the 3 points and hopefully it's better next week?" As long as we're winning, I don't really care. The attractive football is a bonus, as it always will be, and it's great to kind of see. I've kind of said it in my family that we all see it as like a money's effect. Every week it was kind of like 4-2 at home. We played the same style of football away, and that's kind of led to his demise at the end of the day. But it's all positive at the end of the day. And hopefully it'll be the same at the weekend. I don't know whether that's going to be. It's difficult to kind of predict the style of play, and what is really positive from the manager as well. He's happy to change it during the game. He's trying to play that attractive football to begin with. As soon as that's not working, he's looking at his bench. He's looking to change his tactics, and listening to his interviews, he sees it a lot quicker than anyone else does. So having him in charge, and even at half time, whether we're losing or we're drawing, you feel confident that we're going to grow into the game a little bit more. We tend to play better in the second half. From the games that I've watched this season. So it's never doom and gloom at half time, even if we're 2-0 down. And you kind of look at the Chesterfield game, I was doom and gloom then, and you've got to put your hands up to him, to be perfectly honest. We went to the Barnet game and everyone was kind of like at half time, "Oh, here we go again. It's the same old, same old." And then second half, 5 goals. So it's nice to be kind of relaxed at halftime and know 45 minutes is enough. We've got enough in the squad. We've got enough talent to change a game. So I think we do all like the attractive football, and it's great to see, and you want to get out of your seat, and that's what you pay your money for. You don't want to be just seeing these scrappy 1-0s every week, but at the same time, we want to get out of this league. So you just take the points.
Very good, Chloe.
I was just going to say, just jumping on the back of what Chloe was saying there. And the biggest question is like getting out of this league, and if you can do that playing attractive football, great. I dare say most of the time that isn't the style of football that gets you out of the National League and promoted. And I think there's a reason for that. You need to win 25, 30 games, something like that to get promoted. And the question is can Notts play their style of football effectively enough? Not brilliantly, because we know that they don't have to do that to win every week. They proved that on Saturday. But can they play that style of football effectively enough 25 to 30 times to get those wins on the board, to get them out of this league by automatic promotion? And that's the biggest question mark, because the easiest style of football to consistently implement and perform to every single weekend is the big, strong, ugly team, long throw, get the ball forward, and we've seen that week after week after week, and Wrexham are trying to do a hybrid of that, hence Ben Tozer. And that's the biggest question mark for me is, yes, it's great to watch, really good to watch. I really enjoy it. And it's going to win them a lot of games, but are they going to be able to do it consistently enough to put enough wins on the board to win them the league? I think they'll end up in the playoffs no matter what, barring a complete and utter disaster. But the playoffs is a lottery.
Everything until your last 6 words, spot on. The playoffs, I'm sorry, are not a lottery.
Go on.
That is an excuse used by managers if they fail. It gives an excuse to players, because then if they fail, the manager has already said it's a lottery. You have a conversation, and I hope you can get him, with Neil Warnock and ask him about playoffs. And you ask him if they are a lottery.
No, and I'm sure he wouldn't, because he's got a great record.
Not with Brighton and Tranmere. You may have just been born. I'm not quite sure. You look quite youthful. Every Notts fan, we deserve to win. We were the best team. Blah, blah, blah. We lose to Torquay in the playoffs. It's a lottery. Yeah? You can't have it both ways. Personally, I don't think the playoffs are a lottery. The challenge we have at Notts is we've been through them a few times ever since Neil Warnock, and we ain't won one.
All I would say is maybe you don't like the phrase "it's a lottery" more than the reality of the fact that when it comes down to a single game, it is about who shows up on that day. And we have time after time throughout the divisions seen teams surprise supposedly better teams who finished higher than them in the league tables and get up. And I agree with you. I mean, and particularly you can see why a Neil Warnock would say playoffs aren't a lottery. It comes down to who's the better team and who's the better manager. He's got a great record. He'd say that. If I was heavyweight champion of the world and I'd never lost, I'd just say I'd knock everybody out. But the fact of the matter is if you are relying upon Notts County or any team to step up in 2 or 3 games of a playoff, and you are guaranteed, what I'm saying is it doesn't allow for the same margin of error as a long season does. Over 44, 46 games, whatever it is, the best team gets promoted. You will find, particularly playing the style of football that Notts do, that there will be days where it just doesn't click and they're off their game. And I think playing the style of football that Notts do, that chance is elevated on a week-to-week basis. There is a chance that it just won't click one week. And I don't want that week to be in the playoffs. That's what I'm saying, because we've already played 7 games this season, and how many times has it not clicked so far? A fair few.
Very good. I want to get some thoughts on the message boards. Mr. Neil H.O., it didn't click and looked ugly for most of the time on Saturday in the first half. Hang on, I'm losing it. Notts bombed on too much. Every time Notts got the ball, leaving the defenders no option but to go sideways, backwards or long. NCFC Pie says, Ian Birchnall equates to Harry Kewell football with a mischievous image emoji. You moan about me, eh? I think that's a bit tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, I think he's saying he's better than Harry Kewell. I think that's what he's saying.
Sorry, is that what it is? Sorry, right. I bow to your superior knowledge.
Trust, I'm no algebra whiz.
Alphabet characters on keyboards. Okay. Ian Birchnall, that's the fan, not the manager. Should Kell get himself booked Saturday? Yeah, he's had a few bookings, hasn't he? So he misses Woking, but available for the better teams. Gary Wardle, it seems as though the players are not complacent, just very confident in how they are performing. NCFC Pie, I think we're in a great position, still not playing 100%, but still winning games. Lovelace's post-match interview talking about how Birchnall gives guidance at half-time, not just shouting pointlessly. Bob H will have a better idea how good we are come the end of October. A tough month looking at the fixtures. That kind of ties in with the Oracle and Magpie Circle Pundit of the Year, Mark Stallard, with his 10 games and that sort of thing. Let's come back to a few more in a moment. Phil Buxton on our social media channels, Charlie. He's really looking forward to listening in tonight and hearing your vision of Notts going forward and his thoughts of gaining promotion this season. You've kind of done that bit. When possession is the be-all and end-all of this current squad, and really pleasing on the eye when it works. What's his thoughts of rolling a ball 3 yards to a man tightly pressed and using a suicidal tactic to achieve the aforesaid? I'd be interested to know because my heart won't take it. Great show, keep up the good work. Blah blah blah. I mean, I suppose Ian's approach, which does attract, and I'm happy because we're winning matches, right? And the big, if I'm honest, Q pelters from the Birchnell cultists here. The single biggest problem or challenge I felt that the new head coach had when he came here was he had not won matches in anywhere near sufficient numbers that he is required to do at Notts County. That's not a criticism. That is a fact because of the expectation at this level. And we are winning matches. That's why I'm very happy. He's changed from a 5 to a 4. He's clearly prepared to change. I think the one kind of, not a tactic, but one passage of play that some Notts fans kind of find it hard to get their head around is when we adopt that Premier League tactic of goalkeeper tapping it to one of two players, level with the 6-yard box. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, you mentioned Mark Stallard a few moments ago, and I will kind of replicate or repeat something that he said. And it's sometimes you have to play short to go long. Sometimes you have to go long to play short. And there are games where you look at it, and I think they've actually established a quite a good balance now, because if you watch them, they aren't afraid, particularly Alex Lacey when he's on the ball, to play a much more direct long ball, particularly out to a Joel Taylor, up to a Kyle Wootton or somebody like that. Look, is it risky playing the ball short around your own penalty area? Yeah. And it's risky in the Premier League. It's increasingly risky the further down the leagues you go. Yeah. There is some logic, and I spoke to somebody at a game recently who's, knows a thing or two about football, and they said your best players are at the other end of the pitch. What you're passing it around for at the back, get it forward quickly to your best players so that they can do the damage, which is one line of thought. And there is also obviously the kind of common old adage of, if you get it as far away from your penalty area as possible, if you lose the ball there, you're not going to get immediately punished. But to counter what was said about getting up there to your more talented players, they wouldn't have the space to operate that they do by drawing a team onto you. And there are going to be some weeks where a team presses so effectively that becomes very, very difficult. And that's when Notts have to pick those right passes, those skip balls. So I understand the fear. I understand the heart palpitations, because it is worrying. But I do believe that sometimes, Sal was right anyway, you do sometimes have to play short to go long, and vice versa. And the reason why the likes of Roberts and Rodriguez, although I think Ruben's gone off the boil a little bit, but only over the last few, the reason why they've had more space to operate is because they are drawing players onto them. Sometimes you got to do the old rope-a-dope, sucker them in, sit on the rope so that you can fire back, if you get my meaning. So boxing week, Anthony Joshua fights this weekend.
Absolutely, against a pumped-up Alexander Usyk, from what I could see this morning. He was eating some big meals. Chloe, where are you? Is your heart in your mouth when the ball's in and around our 18-yard box and we've got the ball?
I just think there's a time and a place for it. And whilst you're getting used to this new tactic, a lot of our players, especially the ones that have kind of been in and around those bottom leagues most of their career, are not used to it. There's not many teams that try and play like this, and it's something they're going to have to get used to. It's probably a good thing that Birchnell came in kind of towards the end of last season, because he's had the end of a season and a whole pre-season and the start of this season to get them used to this tactic. We've kind of kept the same skeleton of the team and built onto that. So it's only going to get better, hopefully. I'm not saying that it's bad at the minute, but there's definitely a time and a place. But saying that, Premier League teams mess up playing out from the back. You've seen people have nightmares and you're straight one-on-one through goal, and you're always going to get slagged off for playing that way. But again, as Charlie says, there's going to be certain games where it's going to be very effective. You look at the kind of Barnet game, and a lot of our goals this season have come from kind of good balls over the top and long balls, and us being able to control it well and then get it into the box quickly. But it's definitely been a few heart in mouths a few times. But I kind of look back on Saturday's game, and although we changed formation and tactics a little bit that game, they still never looked like scoring, in my opinion. Obviously, we could have scored a couple more. We've had good chances. Nobody should ever miss a penalty, in my opinion. But obviously, that's easier said than done. But I'm happy with it at the moment. But I'm more so happy that that's not our only kind of formation. That's not our only tactic. If it's not working, it's being changed, and that's all I can ask for. Previously, you kind of go back to Meadow. He had one style of football, and that was attacking. And if it was just, you're going to score more than them, and that's how we're going to win every game. And obviously, it didn't pan out like that, especially away from home. But yeah, so at the minute, I'm happy with how we're going and the fact that it can be changed. But we've tried a few different ways of tactics to get out of this league. And to be brutally honest, it hasn't worked. We're still here. So I'm happy to kind of give something else a go. And it's looking pretty promising at the minute. So we'll see how the rest of the season pans out.
Chris Jordan says, I reckon we're playing a good blend of short and long passing. At some point soon, things will click and begin to see the patterns of play working more consistently. Early days for this rejig squad. Gary Wardle, nail on the head. It is nerve-wracking because Notts fans haven't seen this mixture of style and success for a long time. On the counterpoint, Bob H says, I'm old-fashioned, I guess. I hate playing from the back. Too many times we lose the ball in our own half. Richard Hawksworth, position for possession, Mr. Wilkinson's mantra. Chris Gosling says, Ian Birchinall's our biggest asset. Brandon Chambers, if we keep the ball from a goalkeeper goal kick, the opposition cannot score. If we kick it long, it's a 50-50. As most of you know, I am pretty statistic averse. However, and this is pro where we are at the minute, and probably the main reason why I am happy, and I am not fussed, okay, about how we play. For me, it's the substance, not the style. The substance is 3 points a game. That's it. Nothing else matters. We have now won 3 games at home on the bounce. We've only done that twice since we came into the National League in regular National League games. Those times were under Neil Ardley. November 2020, Wealdstone 3-0, Woking 1-0, Stockport 1-0. And in September 19, Halifax 1-0, Fyle 2-0, Dagenham 2-0, Torquay 2-0. 4 wins on the bounce at home. The reality, picking up your point, Charlie, top of the show, is with 44 games, Malcolm Shearston picked me up the other week because I keep thinking there's 24 teams in, there's 23 teams. It's 44 points. So I think probably 90 will do it this year as opposed to 94 or 95. To get 90 points, you're going to get most of them at home. And you've got to win a lot at home. The team that goes up this year, I promise you, will have an outstanding home record. So we've won 3 on the bounce. And I've seen the players, Kyle, who's been on this show, Kel on this show, and clearly, as they should be, they're towing the party line that comes from the manager. We weren't very good, but we won. You know, I am not unhappy. I don't think we should be beating ourselves up. We've just won 3 home games on the bounce. Don't put even more pressure on yourself. You've won 3 on the bounce. If I am Alex Lacey on Saturday, Sam Slocum, any of those players, maybe not Kel because you missed the pen, I'm going out on Saturday night and having a few sherbets. Job done. Great week. Won at home on the Saturday, kept a clean sheet, scored a scruffy goal. Scored from a set piece. We appointed a set piece coach or a coach whatever it is with specific responsibility. These are all ticks in boxes. And clearly we're going to judge this team, Charlie, which I think is a problem, if I'm honest with you. We're judging this team on winning the title. Not just winning the title, but almost winning it in style with free-flowing football. I'm just happy. Nick a 1-0. I know Richard Ogando with his Notts County stats comes out with the XG. I don't give a damn if we have 7% possession at Altrincham on Saturday and score with a 95th minute corner. Conversely, I ain't happy. I ain't happy if people start quoting 73% possession, 17 chances against their 2, and we lose 1-0. I know I take a different narrative to the millennials and the younger view. But I do think we're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, Charlie.
No, but I agree with you on that side of things. And, you know, I think the broad brush approach of is it winning ugly or do you lose in style and all that sort of stuff is too broad. Look, you just want to win. And the fact that they were able to do that on Saturday, the fact that they were able to go to Wrexham and grind out a 1-1 draw on a really tough night against the team that everybody's saying is going to run away with it, particularly now because of Stockport's start, albeit don't look past Chesterfield either. I think they're a team that show a number of facets. And I mean, we're seeing comments of, it'll come good. It's already good. It's already good. Look, it's not going to be amazing every week. It's not going to be amazing every week. That's almost what makes it entertaining. You know, like the jeopardy of going to the lane or going on the road and going, oh, I wonder how we're going to get on today. You know, that's football. You know, like it keeps us talking, keeps us debating. There are areas of it where, and I agree with you in the sense that, look, you got a clean sheet, you score that scruffy goal. By the way, if you want about the goal, couldn't say this on the radio. Didn't know quite how to phrase it. So obviously, Kyle Cameron heads the ball back across the goal, and it glances against a part of Alex Lacey. I will leave it at that. That's what I was told. Didn't come off Alex Lacey's head.
Nope.
It came off of another part of Alex Lacey. You can
calm down, Chloe.
Figure that out yourselves. That's what I got told anyway. But look, I would like to see them start quicker. They have not scored or conceded a goal in the first half an hour of matches. Chloe, you said this earlier on. It feels like they're much better in the second half. They are. They have scored more than a third of their goals in the first 15 minutes after the restart. I would like, and at times it does feel like they need to be shocked into life, occasionally by conceding. But it's early days, and you say like there are key things that will get a team promoted or win a league, and the number one term that I always come back to is consistency. Sutton were the most consistent team last season. They didn't play the best looking football, yada yada yada. They were consistent. When I covered Mansfield Town, they won 20 of their last 23 games.
Paul Cox.
A remarkable run under Coxey.
What was their style like? How did they play winning those 20 of 23 games?
Long ball. Exodus Gahagan could throw the ball as far as Bryson DeChambeau could hit a driver. You had Matt Reed, who was fresh off the building site at JCB and had a brilliant touch and was able to link into Matt Green, who was banging in goals for fun, had nearly 60 goals or maybe just over 60 goals in 2 seasons at Mansfield. They got it as far away from their penalty area as they possibly could. They won set pieces in and around the box, and they were off to the races. That was their style. It was consistent. They were able to employ it on a weekly basis. Consistency is everything at this level.
Very good. More thoughts. There's lots coming in tonight. Good show tonight. Gary Wardle. Anyone think Grimsby will be the team? Their home record is perfect and against some of the better clubs. Dale Pike. I think all of us would take 1-0 every week if we got us out of this league. ZO. It's usually the teams we should beat that we don't. Our record against the top 6 is usually good. So far, we've got ourselves up for it enough to get results against mid to lower table teams. Ian Birchnell, the set piece coach, seems to be paying off already with some of the goals we've scored and looking stronger at the back when defending. David Skinner says, I can't see my comments. Maybe because you've not subscribed. I don't 100% know. It's free. Click the red button and your messages then should be appearing. Ian Birchnell agrees with Charlie. We look too pedestrian in first half. We don't concede because we have more of the ball, but don't get forward quick enough to worry the opposition. NCFC Pie, if every week was perfect, Birchnell and the starting 11 wouldn't be playing managing for Notts in the National League. Again, Charlie's kind of said that. We've won 4 and 7 unbeaten. Can't understand any negativity. Kyle Sadler, we scored 2 corners in our last 2 home games. It's lovely to see, even with all the build-up from the back, which I don't mind, by the way. Winning is winning. Chloe, we've had 1 or 2 questions. Carl Cameron, been made captain, scored from set pieces, had to come off on Saturday. What about Kyle's contribution?
Yeah, it's been a good contribution this season, and he likes to get forward, which makes me a little bit nervous sometimes when I kind of see him in and around the penalty area and we lose the ball, and I'm kind of like, oh. But he played on the left wing for them, for Torquay last season, even against us. So he loves to get forward. And as soon as we get a corner, he's the first one in the box. And if he's going to score his goals, I mean, it's only a positive. A clean sheet is nice. That was a little bit of a worry. We were kind of having to outscore teams because we weren't keeping clean sheets, which is fine when you do it and when it comes together. But again, if he's injured, it's going to be a loss. But all I can say is that we've got the kind of depth that I think that I don't know if it's a bad injury. I haven't really heard.
No, nothing. I know Charlie's on the day off, so I'm not sure if we have anything further to add. But came off with a hamstring issue, and I think
he was not. I don't know for starters, but he was not hamstrung enough to be unable to come out after the game and shout at us before we were doing the interviews, claiming that it was his goal, with a big smile on his face. So I'm hoping, that's all I can do, that's a good sign. And I'm going to have to say good night, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, Charlie, I was just about to say, first off, we're hooking you, or are you walking off? Charlie, thank you very much indeed for your time. Take care.
See you again. Sorry to interrupt. Take care.
Cheers, Charlie. Bye-bye. Okay, me and thee now, Chloe. Right, I like to do these. Fingers on buzzers, as Bamba Gascoigne used to say. I want audience participation now. So even messes, PSG and Notts County, bracket, close brackets, miss penalties now and again. So what is our considered viewpoint? So who should take Notts' next penalty? Should Kel step up again? Or is it Ruben? Or is it someone else? Hit the buttons now and let's read out your answers. Chloe, who should take Notts' next penalty?
I just want to quickly add about that. I thought Chickson played really well on Saturday, so that if Cameron is out, I think we'll be all right for a couple of games, because I think he's been solid since he's come in again with the new manager. But to go back to the penalty, we've had this debate. We was having this kind of strong debate with my family as we were walking back to the car. And I was just saying that I've got kind of my mum saying, well, Wotton should take them, he's the striker. And then my dad saying something different. And I just said, you wouldn't be saying this if he'd have scored it. It's fun. You all slag people for missing penalties off and never want them to take them again. Yeah. So everybody ends up missing one at some point. Wotton, we look back at last season, his penalty conversion rate, it hasn't been amazing since he's been here. So, and I think Ruben's dipped in form a little bit, so I'd still be giving it to Cal. I don't know. That looks quite an uncommon opinion as I'm looking at all of the...
Right, okay. So you're sticking with Cal. Magpie Web, here we go. Goes Ruben, NCFC Pie. Ruben, Chris Gosling. Ruben, Kyle Sadler. Go with Cal again. LLR34X. Wotton, 2 pies on my shirt. Ruben, Chris Gosling. 1005. I have no idea. There must be some in thing there that's beyond me. Ian Birchinall, Reuben. Duncan Comrie, Reuben. Brian Morphus, Reuben. Maxeth, Reuben. Bob H. Wotton. Hang on, I'm running out here. Where am I up to? Jimmy Joe Blacks, that's a new name on me. Reuben. Gary Wardle, Reuben. Robert Holland, Reuben. Chris Godwin, Reuben. Chris Jordan, we can give, it gives me a long answer. We can give them to Reuben, or we can give them to Kyle Wotton and show the rest of the division that Shimanga isn't the only one who can rack up the numbers when given the pens too. Wavy Yoda, Wotton, he's the vice captain. Richard Hawksworth, Reuben. NCFC Pie, very good. Mark Noble, yeah, that was a bit of drama, wasn't it? 98th minute, you come on, first touch. But I have to say, fair play to David Moyes. He took it. Blame me, not him. Fair play to him. Elvis Bott, Reuben. He's come on with something else. We'll come back to that. LRR 34X. Penalties are 50-50. Really? God blimey. Put Slocum on it. I knew someone would go for Sam Slocum. Magpie Webb looks like Reuben's won. David Skinner, Don Masson. Don missed them and all. And believe it or not, there is a story in the annals of the past. Would you believe me, Chloe, if I told you that Notts County missed three penalties in one game, all with different penalty takers? True or false?
Well, I can't imagine you've just plucked that out of nowhere, so I'll say true.
Correct. Who else out there is old enough to remember what happened? And let's see if anyone can get it. Yeah, David Skinner's not happy. I can't even be bothered to read that one out. Okay, so 1-4, drawn 3, 4th or 5th or whatever. Someone mentioned Grimsby, I think, with a game in hand. Cast your mind back, Chloe, to your predictions when we all made them. Now, who did you have down to win it? Who was your sort of main rival to Notts?
I think it was Stockport. I definitely had Grimsby in there, and I had Dagenham along with you. It's nice to kind of see that we're almost going to go in the right direction with that. Who knows? It's a long season. But I've had Grimsby up there. I think everybody's kind of slagging Stockport off, and I did expect them to have a better start. But I look at the teams that they've played. It's not an excuse. If you want to win the league, you've got to beat the teams that are up there as well. But we've got all of this to come. So it's easy to slag their start off, but we've got the run of games that they've just had coming up. But Grimsby, I think someone mentioned their home form, vitally important if they can keep that up and consistently get points at home. I think you were saying earlier that most of your points will come from home matches. Away, it's always difficult no matter who you're playing. And to have a very good home form stands you in very good stead. And we was looking at Grimsby and the results that they're getting, and I think they could go second. Correct me if I'm wrong, if they win their game in hand, second or third. So they're definitely going to be up there fighting. But everyone's going to have a tough kind of run at this point. It'll be interesting to see where theirs comes from, considering they've only just come down. This is their first season in the league. I would expect them to get playoffs with kind of the run of games that we're going with now, if that pans out across the whole season. But for them to go up after just coming down, it's going to be very difficult. But yeah, I think they're going to be up there. Winning the league, I'm not too sure, but definitely up there. They're one to watch out for as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the two teams we need to finish above this season to win the league, I think one is Chesterfield, big fan of James Rowe, whatever you say. And I know Notts fans kind of think of him as the devil incarnate, but he is very much a pragmatic manager and very used to delivering results. And I still think Wrexham are, with the talent that they have assembled. You can see the crowds that are coming through the turnstiles at Wrexham, even eclipsing ours at the moment. So I think they are the two. But Grimsby, clearly Paul Hurst knows this division, and we were talking about home record. He knows, I think, what needs to be done. The Keogh 1969. Hi, Paul. Love the Magpie Circle. We all need to get behind the lads. Good game and bad games. I've been a big fan of Notts, being Kel's stepdad. That's the Keogh 1969. He hasn't tipped who he thinks should be the next penalty taker, but I presume he's going for Kel. I doubt he'd be going for Ruben or David Wootton. Don Masson, Notts County's greatest ever player. He missed a few penalties, and I must be getting old because it was down at Portsmouth. Notts missed 3 penalties, all in one game. Don Masson took one, missed it. Kevin Randall took one, and then Brian Stubbs took one, and nearly hit the corner flag. So that takes a bit of beating. I think we drew. I was only about 10 at the time, but 3 penalties. We missed the lot in one game. Max Seth says Grimsby will go top if they win their game in hand. Duncan Comrie, I've been to Grimsby's ground and it's on a par with most in the NL, so that's why they are feeling at home. I'll take the point about tongue in cheek. I remember being Notts County in the top flight when we had the West Ground in the top flight. You use it to your advantage. Grimsby, Notts and Chesterfield, not a bad final. 3 come Judgment Day. Chris Jordan's come in. I don't know whether he's heard me or not, but Masson, Stubbs and Randall. Yeah, it was. Right. So you're already up in Manchester. So we've got Altrincham on Saturday. Now, you're not doing any shifts in the ticket office, but you can give us a bit of travel advice, can't you, for those of us planning to go to Altrincham on public transport? Because the tram drivers are on strike, aren't they, from Manchester to Altrincham?
Well, they're on strike all over Manchester, which is... They've chose a great weekend because Man U are home at the early kickoff, so the 12:30 kickoff. Obviously, not to play in Altrincham. I'm sure they haven't looked into that too much. And then I'm actually going to a gig afterwards at the cricket ground, which is also going to affect my day. So they've chose a great weekend for it. But kind of what I've read up on is that the drivers are striking. I don't know whether that kind of means all metros are going to be stopped. I really doubt it will be all metros, but I imagine there'll be very few and far between. It would have been ideal because there is a metro straight from the city centre all the way to Altrincham. That's kind of the last stop. But I've looked into it, and there's a train. If you get on one of the East Midlands trains from Nottingham, get off at Stockport instead of coming into the city centre, obviously, unless you want to come in for a drink or whatever. But if you go from Stockport, it's a 20-minute train journey into Altrincham, and then it's just a 10-minute walk from there. So there is ways around it, and obviously you'd be able to get a taxi from the city centre. It's not too far. Myself, I'm driving because it's only kind of a 15-20-minute drive from me. I just need to look into parking a little bit. But don't be put off by the strikes. There's simple ways around it, and obviously I don't know whether they're going to be kind of all stopped. I'd highly doubt it, because when there's kind of strikes on trains, it doesn't mean every train has stopped from that company that day. So I'd kind of keep an eye out on the metro if that's what you were looking into using, but I'd also seriously consider kind of a local train from Stockport. Gets you there just as easily.
Yeah, you've got that inside knowledge from your granddad, haven't you? He obviously works on East Midlands Railway. He's sent me that info as well. It's quite good going. It's not great timings going back, but it's perfectly doable. I like Chris Jordan's response. If we take our own drivers, i.e. Nottingham tram, can we still use the trams? I'm not sure whether there's any loan arrangements between Manchester Metro and the Nottingham network, but feel free to initiate some discussions, and we could put on a special Notts County tram non-stop from Piccadilly to Altrincham, couldn't we? Because we don't want all them Man U fans coming out the game at 2:30 if that's an early kickoff and using our tram to get there. Altrincham have had 2 weeks off, says Chris Goslin, the fountain of all knowledge tonight. I presume they must have had COVID or been playing a team that's due to have had COVID. I think they'll be rusty and not match sharp, and this game, more than any, is one to get at them early. It's so easy. Yeah, we've got the 3 points already in the bin. Ian Birchinall, alternative view is that they will be fully rested. Always two sides to any coin. Now then, a bit of feedback before we continue with the show. We're looking here at the Magpie Circle of having our first golf day and coinciding that with a live broadcast from the clubhouse at the end of the round. Proceeds would all go to Notts County's former Players Association. I've been chatting with Les Brad about it. So I'm not sure how many of you out there are golfers. We clearly get all former players to take part, etc. If that is something that floats your boat and you're interested, let me know. And we're looking possibly, I say possibly, to do that in the next 6 weeks or so, just as a little aside. And if you own a pub or whatever out there, we are looking to take the Magpie Circle out on the road. So if you are a Notts County publican or is a suitable Notts pub, Partisan Tavern, I know, is run by a Notts County supporter, recently opened in the city centre, just at the bottom across from Snenton Market. But if you are a landlord, please get in touch. We would need some half-decent Wi-Fi, whilst we might all be struggling. But all these things are up for grabs. So got any thoughts, want to volunteer, fancy a golf day, give us some feedback now or later on our social media channels. The sacking race continues. So Harry Kewell has gone at Barnet today. Danny Searle has gone at Aldershot. We beat them both. I thought Aldershot looked quite decent against us, to be fair. Surprised or not, Chloe, that we've managed to get to 7 games before the sacking race starts?
I mean, there's always going to be some in every league, but the National League, it just seems to turn them over. We've had our fair share of managers. The last couple have been both had long spells, which is surprising as a Notts fan. I think Forest are trying to kind of overtake us in the sacking race. They love a new manager as well. But they come quickly, don't they? It's a results business. And I think a lot of teams, as soon as they see that bad run of form come at the start of the season, they want out. And obviously, if you put money into it and you haven't got a lot of money and you're not getting the results already, they're out. And it's interesting to see who they're going to get, who's available, who's kind of on the market for teams like that. But 7 games is not a lot, is it, to be honest at all?
Yeah, we'll just give you a bit more info on Altrincham Saturday. My son had mentioned it to me, and Trevor, your granddad's just come on. It doesn't help the situation on Saturday because Wrexham are at Stockport, which is obviously a stopping off point for both of us by the sounds of it. And if you can run the 4-minute mile or maybe 5-minute mile, you can get, according to Trevor, the fountain of all railway knowledge. There is a train from Altrincham at 5 o'clock that connects at Stockport and gets you back fairly quick. If not, you've got to wait till 6 before you get back. Ian Birchnell says Kewell should apply for the Forest job. He has all the right credentials. You've got to love some of the lines that our flock come out with, haven't you? Very good, very, very good. I'll give you a story about Harry Kewell, because that was during my short tenure as a director at the club. Harry came in and clearly wanted to play a certain brand of football. And if you remember, we got 2 or 3 results. And Paul Hart, who I have a huge amount of time for, who was director of football at the time, everyone thought it was kind of like a dual appointment. It wasn't. They were appointed entirely independently of each other. But clearly there was a relationship between Paul and Harry from their time at Leeds together. So for those of you who may remember, Harry got a couple of results. And we were then going to Bury. And Bury were flying at the time. How times can change. And I think Paul was very much of a pragmatic view. Let's try and get a point, put the shutters up, keep this little mini run going. And Harry said, no, I want us to play an open, expansive way. This is the way the players want to play. 20 minutes gone at Bury at Gig Lane, we're 3-0 down. we got battered, absolutely pummeled. Not long after that, we went for a midweek game at MK Dons. And again, we played a very expansive open game. And actually, we took the game to MK Dons, and Paul Tisdale was the manager. And we were in charge of the game. But typically a promotion-chasing team, a relegation-threatened team, the promotion-chasing team found a way to win the game. So we got beat. But Harry was still very much of the opinion this was the way forward. And I remember, I don't think I'm speaking too much out of school there. I remember talking with Paul Hart over a coffee, and he said, look, if this carries on, we are going to really struggle. We had a chance. We got a couple of results. We needed to do a slow build. We've gone back to a certain way. We can't do it. History will show you that Harry was moved on, and that's a polite way of putting it, as head coach or manager. It was a week or two after that. And so, well, clearly it's players. The way you set a team up is very important in the way that you get results. And I think it's very commendable that Harry clearly is prepared to take jobs in the lower divisions, because when you consider his glittering career, going to Oldham, the guy there running that club, you need to be pretty desperate, I may say, to want to be a manager, to work under him. He tried that didn't work. And clearly Barnet is a bit of a basket case of a club as well at the minute. And unfortunately, he's not lasted too well there. But I think it is a case of great managers great players don't always make great managers. And conversely, to be a successful manager, you don't have to be a massively illustrious player. But yeah, so 2 managers have gone, and 2 teams of the 4 that we have beaten, Chloe. I'm hoping it's not that much of a disgrace that you lose to Notts County, that you have to sack your manager. Let's just come back final few minutes of the show. Overall, are you one of these people that, and you hinted at it a little bit earlier about style and all the rest of it, but we're in a very good position after 7 games, and historically in the National League we have not started well in either of the 2 previous seasons.
Yeah, it's been a good start. Definitely not losing always helps. It's going to get you up there. And I've kind of looked at a couple of the games. I don't like to say winning ugly, because I think, like Charlie said earlier, we haven't really won ugly. We haven't looked like we haven't deserved any of our wins, to be perfectly honest. And I just kind of look at it that maybe last season, previous seasons, we're winning games that we would have drawn, whether we've slightly been the better side or not taking our chances, but we're converting those draws into wins at the minute, or losses into draws. Either way, we're adding more points on than previous seasons, what we have done, which again is only a positive. And that's how you get out of this league. You turn those losses into draws. You turn some of those draws into wins, especially away from home. And I think one of the most important things this season is not letting teams in and around you, your Stockports, your Wrexhams, your Grimsbys, your Chesterfields, teams like that, take points off you. You're drawing against them. We've drawn against Wrexham. They haven't got any ground on us. We're a level playing field against each other. And my dad kind of phrased it in a really good way of, you've got to kind of be in the top couple of the mini league. This is kind of the big 8 teams or so. If you get your points against them and don't drop many points against them, that is going to put you in a very good stead. The other teams, it's not just a case of playing well against the big teams, because we've seen in previous seasons that, yeah, we can play great against the bigger sides. And it tends to be the case that against the lesser sides who play a different formation and play a different style of football, that don't let us get on the ball, that's where we've slipped up previously. But this season is looking to be a little bit different in that we are able to, the manager is able to, and the players are able to adapt to those games. We try, I think, every game go out with the same mindset and the same style of football that we want to play. And as soon as that isn't working, we're changing it and we're coming out with results. And that can't be argued against. Altrincham, I think everybody is wanting at least a point out of. 3 would, again, be great. As long as we're not losing, I think nobody can argue, because then I think that'd be 8 games without a loss, which is pretty good, no matter who you've played. But I am kind of conscious of this run of games that we've got coming up. I think there's a few difficult away games and home games, and if you can kind of get your points now against the lesser sides, it's easy to say, and there's no easy games. But if we can rack some points up now, it'll stand us in good stead. We'll kind of have some consistency going into these difficult run of games, and hopefully come out a little bit better than what Stockport have come out of their run of games. And as long as you we've said it before, even after Christmas, any side can get a run of games and come out of nowhere. You look at Chesterfield, and I think by Christmas, they was kind of nowhere near the playoffs. And after that, they just come flying. But again, it can go the opposite way with Torquay. Everyone thought they were going to storm the league last season, and they did drop off. So everybody always says by Christmas, if you're in and around there, you'll be there at the end of the season. It's not the case at all. I think Charlie put it perfectly. The team that's going to go up is going to be the most consistent. It's great that you can put a run of games together, but it might already be too little too late by the time that a couple of teams might get that run. The biggest thing that we can be this season is consistent, and that's what we're being at the minute. If you can kind of carry on this form, obviously we're going to lose games. I think you'd be daft to say we're not going to lose a game this season, because we are. It just depends how we react from those losses. And as long as we can keep them down and keep this kind of consistency going, then we're going to be up there. But there's a lot of teams that you need to look at that are also going to have that consistency. It's how you perform against them as well as everybody else. And that'll you'll see at the end of the season that it's going to be the most consistent go up.
Chris Gosling echoes your point there. We just need to be realistic and know we will lose at some point. The mark of our improvement will be how we bounce back. John Collins, didn't Harry Kewell bring Enzio to Notts? Actually, he didn't. To be fair, Andrew Rayson's probably got it about right. No, Alan Hardy signed him whilst Nolan was here. It's probably not a bad way of putting it. Yes. Gary Wardle. Paul, we are off to a good start, but how the division is panning out at the moment, we have had favourable fixtures. I think the stat is something like of the 7 teams we have played, 6 have been in the bottom half. But and it's a point that Carl Sadler, I think, is alluding to here. Our record against the top teams has been pretty good in our seasons in the National League. We've slipped up against the so-called smaller teams, and we're putting them away this year. It's all positive. Yeah, the point, I was probably as encouraged by one of our draws as I have been about any of our wins. I personally would read more into us holding on to the wrong word, but getting a draw at Wrexham 1-1 and the way we played there as, say, winning 5-0 at Barnet. We went 1 up. When we conceded a goal, I feared the worst. But to be honest, for that last 20 minutes, half an hour, I wasn't really worried. And I thought we showed a great deal of resilience against a very strong team. And clearly, the question marks about us this season are going to be as much about our ability to stop the concession of goals as it is about our ability to score them. And I thought we looked very good that night. And I think that bodes well for when we have these bigger games coming up. Your Grimsby's, Chesterfield is certainly going to be a belter at our level in the National League. You were there, I think, weren't you, Chloe, at Wrexham, like me? And I thought that was a game in one of the very few where people wouldn't expect us to win and possibly expect us to lose. But I thought we actually looked the real deal for the vast majority of those 90 minutes.
Absolutely. We talk about no easy games, but I think you know who the big games are. I think that's quite clear this season. And it was a great point in the end. I kind of look back at our performance away there last season. Obviously, none of us were able to go, but on the stream, and it was a fighting performance. And it was a fighting performance again at Wrexham. Not that we didn't deserve it, not that we were hanging on. But when you come up against some quality like Mullin, and you can see the quality that he's got, it shows you that we're able to fight up there with the rest of the teams this season that have splashed the cash. We haven't necessarily, I don't know where our budget stands with what we've spent this season on players that have come in. And I don't know what our wage budget is in comparison to other people, but I can imagine there's quite a few teams that are above us in both of them categories. And it just shows you that we possibly wasn't necessary to splash all that cash, because we've got a point against a top side and some quality players. And like you said, I think that's, even though it was a draw, was one of the standout performances and results that we've got this season. Obviously, you look at Barnet, 5-0. It's a team I don't ever like to say expect, but kind of would look at kind of as you and Stallard were looking at the first 10 games, and you'd have probably both have had a win at Barnet and then a draw or a loss at Wrexham. Like you said, I don't think anyone expected us to go there and win Tuesday night at the start of the season, but it was a great point, and I think that's one of the most important games that you've got to look at and think, well, we are going to be up there fighting.
Positive note to end on. Chris Gosling, agree, Paul, we were solid, composed and assured against Wrexham, even with the long throws they bombarded us with. And I think another characteristic I would use for that game was we were resilient. Mm-hmm. And I think we talk a lot about creativity and all the rest of it. The team that will go up this year will be resilient. And I think that was a game, more so than probably any other this season, when in the second half we had to be resilient, and we were. And I think that bodes very well. Good show tonight. Lots of talk, lots of good debate about Pep Guardiola, Manchester City, Notts County, and the National League, all in one sentence, all in one show. So I think we've done well tonight. Chloe, as always, thank you very much. Enjoy Manchester. Give us any more advanced scouting reports ahead of metro availability and accessibility to Altrincham. Otherwise, we will all be changing at Stockport and meeting up with however many hundreds of Wrexham fans there will be on Stockport Station. NCFC Pike, yeah, I was going to close the show with this. Not sure if you saw earlier, but next week it's the Fans Forum, also being live streamed on Monday night. Are you rearranging? Yes, we're not, for obvious reasons, going head to head with the club, but we will be moving next week's Monday show. Don't worry about that. If you're going down to the club, you will not miss out on our show. We will be back on Wednesday evening this week, looking ahead to Altrincham, when we will be joined by Lee Curtis of the Nottingham Post. He'll be able to give us the latest on Kyle Cameron, early team news, and looking ahead to our trip to Greater Manchester, or Cheshire, I think, at Altrincham, is it? We'll also be joined by another old friend of the show, Simon Stone, BBC football correspondent. He lives on the doorstep of Altrincham, so he can give us a bit of inside track and knowledge of what is going on at Altrincham. So that will be 7 o'clock on Wednesday. We thank you for your participation. As always, we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Have a good week in Manchester, Chloe, and look forward to catching up on Saturday in Altrincham.